Good evening and welcome to our webinar, Eat Well, Live Well. I am thrilled to see so many people who have joined us this evening to learn a little bit more about what has truly become my passion the last 18 years, and that is more information and education about nutrition. My talk is called Eat Well, Live Well. It's what my children, who are now 15, 13, and our son is 8, have called my good food speech for years. It truly is what transformed my life the last 18 years, learning more about exactly how to fuel your body and how then I can be the best version of me possible. This is my family. My husband, Terry, is the athletic director at Arkansas State University. We live an incredibly full lifestyle. I love everything that I get to touch, but it's definitely busy. We've lived in 6 different houses in the last 18 years we've been married, in 4 different cities. And so our schedule has been one of constant adjusting and change. And then as anyone who is a parent of even one child knows, that's a constant fluctuation as well. So what I've studied and learned about nutrition, I've really had to apply amidst a busy life. And that's why I'm so passionate about sharing what I have to share with you tonight, is because it's practical ways that you can apply what medical science now is proving to be so important for your overall health. And that is the key, really, to living a better health. We'll go ahead and get started. It starts with the foundation of 4 different things, is what I call the core areas of health: healthy eating, drinking water, sleep, and exercise. And I'd be remiss not to mention all 4, but we're going to focus this evening on the top 2, and those where I've definitely had the most success. As a lifelong dancer, I know the value of exercise, but in full transparency, it is the one thing that sometimes slips out of my routine. And the sleep, I'm a total hypocrite on. I know how important it is for all aspects of health. It's important for your immune system. It's important for weight management, but there's just too many awesome things that I get to do in my life that sleep is one thing that does not always get met. When it comes to diet, these are our choices in America most often, and too often people are choosing that road to the left instead of taking that road less traveled to the right. Hopefully, after the education I share this evening, you'll be more inclined to take that road to the right. My passion is truly children's health too. As a mom of 3 kids, I know firsthand the challenges of different health factors. I see it with so many of my kids' friends, and I'm blessed to say that I have 3 very healthy children. But when I was pregnant with my oldest, that article on the bottom right that says when we grow up, one of us will get cancer crossed my desk. And at the time, we hoped to be blessed with 3 or 4 children. And the thought of lining my own kids up and saying, which one's going to have cancer? And then I learned that actually every child born after the year 2000, 1 in 3 would have cancer, as that article states, 1 in 2 would have heart disease, and 1 in 3 would be diabetic. And it really stopped me in my tracks to think of my own kids and say, okay, well, who's going to have cancer and which one will have heart disease and who's going to be the diabetic? And then you see these other articles about Generation XL and Supersize America, where it's kind of a pun on some certain things. But it's really sad, the statistics that children are facing. And I get excited about the opportunities we have to teach and educate and make changes that someday future generations will open magazines that say, remember when 1 in 3 had cancer or 1 in 2 had heart disease? And that's truly why I do what I do and why I love that you're on this line tonight. Dr. David Katz says we live in a time children are harmed more by poor diet than exposure to alcohol, drugs, and tobacco combined. That's the first time in world history, actually, then, that they're seeing that generations of children now will have a shorter life expectancy than their parents. It's a huge combination of all of these things, and the risk factors are just remarkably high. This anonymous quote that true healthcare reform starts in your kitchen, not in Washington, I think is so truthful. And that is a lot of hope. There's a lot we cannot control in Washington, but the healthcare aspect does start in our kitchen and in what we're choosing to feed and put in our bodies. Because the food we eat, as Ann Wigmore says, can be either the safest and most powerful form of medicine, or the slowest form of poison. And I believe with that, there's a whole new field of science called epigenetics. This Time magazine says why your DNA is not your destiny. And there's also hope in that too, because obviously people are predisposed to certain conditions. If you have breast cancer that runs in your family or different diseases, you may think you're doomed. But what science is showing now is that it's environmental factors like diet, stress, even prenatal nutrition for when you're pregnant that actually imprint on the genes. And Dr. William Sears says over 70% of disease is preventable through good nutrition. So yes, you may be predisposed to certain conditions, but our lifestyle, the way we're feeding our body, the way we manage stress, all of those things can turn those switches on or off faster or slower. This Kathy comic strip says burger then, burger now, fries then, fries now. She goes down the list and says, my body was my temple, now it's my McMansion. And it's definitely a cute joke, but I love encouraging people to look at their body as the temple it is and think about putting the right fuel in. I do not know a single American who would put water in the gas tank of their car. Yet our body is our most prized engine and machine that we have, and we're constantly putting the wrong fuel in our bodies. You can't expect, as this says, to look like $1 million if you're eating from the dollar menu. But I really believe there are too many people counting calories and not enough people counting chemicals. I mentioned that I was a dancer my whole life. And, I love sharing with people that today I'm 42 and I'm 2 sizes smaller than I was at 25 out of college after being on a collegiate dance team. And I don't count calories, but I have gotten rid of all the chemicals in my body. I have friends that say, you eat more high-fat food today than you ever did. And I do, but it's natural nuts and seeds and avocados and things that I know my body knows exactly what to do with. So when it does come to some of those chemicals in food and the different packaged things, which are a reality in life, I like sharing what Dr. David Katz put together, and it's a program called Nutrition Detectives. This was designed for elementary school kids, but I like to teach it to kids of all ages because I think the same rules apply. These are his 5 clues that are designed to help anyone become a supermarket spy. So with this, you can look at packaged foods and start making healthier choices. His first clue is to not be fooled by the big letters on the front of the package, that that's all marketing and hype. The only truth on a label is the fine print on the back that says ingredients, that nutrition facts section. The second thing is that the first ingredient is always the biggest. And I learned this, clearly, if a product has sugar listed as one of the top 3 ingredients, you know that that's something that is not going to be the healthiest choice. But manufacturers today are using a divide and conquer strategy where they may be using 9 different forms of sugar and listing them all lower in the label so that you aren't catching it. But there's a conversion rate that I'll share with you, especially for the example of sugar, that you can get a visual representation in your mind of how much sugar is hiding in it. His third clue is to avoid hydrogenated oil and high fructose corn syrup. He calls those the suspicious characters in the crowd. I like to add in here any color and number. So all the food dyes. Food dyes are linked to actually weaken your immune system. They're linked to behavior issues, not only in kids, but even in adults. So on a label, anytime you see a color and a number, red 40, blue 5, yellow 2, those are not God's colors. Those are fake food dye colors that have been added to food. So I like to say the 2 H's, the hydrogenated oil, the high fructose corn syrup, and the food dye. His fourth one is to avoid foods with a long ingredient list, that clearly if you can't pronounce a bunch of the things on the label, that's not real food. And the fifth thing is that fiber is your friend. So you want to look out for whole grain imposters. There are all kinds of crackers today, even now Fruit Loop cereal says, made with whole grains, and they tout the fiber that's in it. But those are not the natural sources of fiber. So when you look at the actual label, I want to use this example of this orange soda. You see at the bottom, I've circled the high fructose corn syrup as the second ingredient, and it also has the food dye in it. But here's the example for sugar. Every label will have the grams of sugar. And I learned years ago that 4 grams is equal to a teaspoon. And it gave me a mental picture for how much sugar is actually hiding in the products that I'm using. This soda, for instance, has 18 teaspoons of sugar in this one bottle of soda. The other thing you have to check is the serving size, because oftentimes on a big bottle like that, it'll say 2.5 servings. But I don't know many people in America who only drink a third of the bottle and then put it away for another day. So you do want to watch that and do the math according to the serving size that you're going to consume. I'll be honest, the thing that shocked me on sugar was that the yogurt I was eating every single day had 8 teaspoons of sugar. It was actually identical to my Breyers ice cream, but the vanilla Breyers ice cream would have been better because the yogurt had high fructose corn syrup and food dye in it. So I loved this visual, and I started just gradually looking at the foods I was eating and seeing how much sugar was actually hiding in it. So those are his 5 clues, and he touched on, all the different things that you can kind of watch for in reading labels and how you can start to check things. This microwave popcorn, I want to point out, has the hydrogenated oil, but on the front of this, it actually has a big yellow banner that says 0 grams trans fat. So you can't even trust that. The FDA said if there was less than 0.5 gram per serving, they could claim 0 grams trans fat, but you clearly see in the ingredients here that it does have the hydrogenated oil in it. So that again is his list of clues and what you can use when you're shopping to become, as he calls, a supermarket spy. So that's the packaged foods. But what I want to encourage you to actually fill your plate with and start eating is more real food. And this is the government's new design. If you remember the food pyramid of years ago, they now have a plate visual. And they're encouraging that half your plate every time you sit down is fruits and vegetables, and then 1/4 grains and 1/4 protein. I recommend changing that dairy to water. Water is the most important thing that you can put in your body, and that's what you really want to focus on getting more of. I will tell you, the last 10 days, I've been doing a clean eating challenge, and I have been filling my plate at night with vegetables. Last night, I had cauliflower and broccoli and asparagus and roasted sweet potatoes and a red and just regular Yukon Gold like mix of roasted potatoes. And I was so full and so satisfied that if you give it a try, you'll be surprised how satisfying lots of fruits and vegetables can be. And one of the reasons is because they're full of nutrients. This chart shows 100 calories of broccoli, romaine lettuce, and kale versus 100 calories of sirloin steak. And I love this because it was eye-opening to me, so opposite of how I was raised in America. If you look down the left, they list the nutrients, and then the levels are in the chart. And but you look the first one and the third one, the protein and the iron, you typically would think the sirloin steak would be the highest level. Well, if you look, it's the lowest in practically everything. And the protein, it's not half the protein that's in broccoli, calorie for calorie, and the iron isn't even 1/10 of the iron that's in romaine lettuce. The other thing I want you to notice on this chart is about 1/3 of the way down on the left, you see the words phytochemicals and antioxidants. They are found in very high levels in the broccoli, the romaine lettuce, and the kale, and absolutely 0 in your sirloin steak. And that is a really important thing to note. This is the science behind why that's important. Our bodies, I mentioned earlier, if you thought of it like a car, it's your most prized engine and your prized possession. Well, everyday living, your body's motor is running, and you end up putting off exhaust. The technical terms are free radicals and oxidative stress. And those things end up damaging cells. In fact, every cell in your body gets attacked by over 10,000 free radicals every day. And you see in this visual how that attacked cell ends up looking more deformed, and it's very damaged. That shows up in the body different ways. It may show up in the brain as Alzheimer's, or in the eyes as macular degeneration, or in the skin as wrinkles. You see the picture on the bottom of the skin on the left and the right, and the apple on the left and the right. Well, antioxidants are only found in fruits and vegetables, and they get their name because they are protecting against oxidation. They actually neutralize the free radicals and protect your cells. It's like they visually build a shield around every cell in your body. You see with that apple, half of it oxidized in the air when it was sliced open. The other half was drizzled with lemon juice, which lemons are a natural plant loaded with antioxidants, and they actually preserve and protect that apple from the oxidative stress. Well, that's what happens in your body every day when you're flooding your body with fruits and vegetables. You can actually protect your cells and stop and slow down that aging and damage. Even the American Cancer Society knows now and is promoting the benefit of produce. I remember growing up, the message was early detection. And now it's a beautiful poster of 30 fruits and vegetables, and it says, cancer, reduce your risk, because that's what they know about cancer today. This Time magazine article says the news isn't that fruits and vegetables are good for you, it's that they're so good for you, they could save your life. And this headline is actually exactly what I experienced. I granted myself immunity because I learned that my diet was my best defense. I went from being on antibiotics 6 to 7 times a year to maybe that many times in the last 17 years. It's about flooding your body with produce, a variety of kinds. You want citrus fruits and cruciferous veggies, and then the dark green leafy vegetables. You want that variety of colors. I teach kids in school, you want to have a rainbow of colors every day, but not from Skittles. You want your actual red strawberries and blue blueberries and green broccoli. The fact is, the government has spent billions trying to find a cure for all these different diseases. And their conclusion is actually that it's easier to prevent than it is to cure. And their recommendation now in serving sizes is 9 to 13 servings of fresh, raw fruits and vegetables every day. I have a friend who says you'd have to be a stay-at-home vegetarian to actually accomplish getting that many fruits and vegetables in your diet every day. One of the reasons that the servings has increased from what you may remember, the 5-a-day campaign, or even the 5 to 9 when they gradually were increasing, is our produce today is not what it was years ago. This chart from the book Empty Harvest by Dr. Jensen is explaining that you would need 60 cups of spinach back in 2003 even, which is 13 years ago, to equal the amount of iron that was in 1 cup of spinach in 1954. So our produce is not what it was years ago. We need massive amounts of it, and most of us are not getting it. A lot of people turn to vitamin supplements and think that that makes sense logically, that that would fill in the gaps and help. I want to share what I've studied the last 17 years about vitamins and what is coming out in science today. This article was from O Magazine. I'm not talking about the pizza at the top, but down at the bottom, there is an article, Vitamin Alert, labels that lie versus pills that deliver. ConsumerLab.com is a group, a third-party company that actually pulled products off the shelves to see if what they said were in the bottles were actually the ingredients in there. And this O Magazine, back from 2004, is, I think, the best layman's explanation of the whole lack of regulation. There's not really a regulatory agency monitoring and managing the whole vitamin and supplement industry. And so I caution you to ask good questions, demand actual third-party research, and learn what it is that you're putting in your body before you take it. There was a prenatal that didn't have the folic acid that it said it did. There were gummy vitamins that had lead in them. There were only a handful of products that actually passed for being what they said they were on their labels. And then the science today is showing that the vitamins, especially the isolated megadosed ones, are not preventing the cancers and helping the way they thought they were. In earlier studies, they were saying all these positive things about eating your way to longer lives. Well, eating your way to longer lives is true, but people were confused about that and they started just doing vitamins. You see in this report from USA Today, a few of these studies, and several of them did not prevent the cancer that they said. Vitamin E actually increased the prostate cancer risk. Selenium raised the risk of diabetes. And the second one from the bottom, not only did it not prevent the heart disease in men, but vitamin E increased the stroke risk. So vitamins, as this says, we're getting an F in cancer prevention. And as you see in some of these studies, in the heart and disease category as well, because your body doesn't know what to do with it. It's not the way God intended it to be. The sad thing is that this exact message, very much of what I'm sharing with you tonight, was in this article from 22 years ago. The Newsweek article from 1994, The Search for the Magic Pill, Better Than Vitamins. And it's explaining that we don't have a vitamin deficiency in America. We have a whole food deficiency, that there is so much nutrition and the synergy and the power of everything that's in produce, the phytochemicals and the antioxidants, those two terms that I mentioned earlier. It was in this article from 1994, teaching Americans exactly how to be healthier. This is the why behind that article. Every piece of produce today has over 10,000 phytonutrients. Those are plant compounds. They're like your superheroes in your food. They actually say between 10 and 25,000 different phytonutrients have been named and are found in a single piece of produce. This chart here is just 400 ingredients. So if an apple were to have a label of all the nutrients that are actually in it, it would have to be a book 25 pages long like this. And then you see the label for a multivitamin, and maybe there are 30 things that man has figured out how to chemically make in a laboratory, but your body doesn't recognize the synergistic levels of it. One example is with lutein zeaxanthin. So they knew from research that a fourth a cup of spinach once a week could reduce your risk of macular degeneration. The next thing you know, they have flagged that lutein zeaxanthin is the superhero in spinach, and then all your marketing and advertising campaigns are showing Centrum with lutein for your eye health. Well, the research on lutein did not show the same benefit as the research on spinach. And it's because you can't fool Mother Nature. What else in the spinach? What other 9,999 nutrients were needed for the body to use it and actually prevent and reduce your risk of macular degeneration? It's that synergy that's so powerful and so special about real food. So how do you encourage your family to eat better foods? First of all, shaping young tastes. I definitely have had the blessing that I learned all of this, 17 years ago and before I had children. And it is true that it's easier. But if I can shape and change my husband's tastes, I promise you there's hope for everyone. The second thing is to be persistent with new foods. It can take 15 tastes before your taste buds actually develop a preference for a food. The third thing is easy access. You see the picture here on the right of the mason jar salads. That's one example that the Healthy Living Revolution community I'm a part of is spearheading, and those are mason jar salad parties. So whoever invited you on the line tonight, feel free to talk to them about hosting a mason jar salad party for your friends, where you can get together and fix healthy smoothies and actually bring just your own lettuce and your own favorite dressing and one topping, and you have a buffet of different toppings, and everyone can leave with 5 or 6 salads for the week. Another aspect of easy access is just getting back to the basics. I tell people the original fast food were carrot sticks and an apple, a handful of almonds. That can be just as filling and satisfying as going through a drive-through. It's just that shift in preparing. So you want to be strategic with timing. If you know you're going to be starving when you walk in from work or when your kids get home from school, maybe pack a healthy snack, have the raw almonds in the car, or do something that you can eat before you walk in your door and you're tempted to grab the bag of chips. The second to last tip is to puree and hide fruits and vegetables. You can do this in sauces and in soups. We start every day doing this with our smoothies. The picture on the bottom right, I love putting chia seeds and spinach or kale with frozen blueberries. We use almond milk, and we do a Think Smart smoothie every morning. My husband takes his in a cup to go. The kids all drink theirs, and that is our breakfast. And we know we're starting our day with probably over 20 different plant foods. The last thing is to involve your kids. For those of you who do have children, or I like to tease that everyone has access to a child, whether it's a little brother, sister, niece, nephew, a neighbor, I encourage you to be a role model and set healthy examples, and maybe take them to the grocery store and let them pick out a fruit or a vegetable that they've never tasted in their life, and let them be a part of cutting it or cooking it and preparing it. The other thing is growing it. We know that what children grow, they're more likely to actually eat. And in our life, with all of our moves, having a garden was not feasible until we found this aeroponic garden called the Tower Garden. It actually grows 20 different plants. We have 3 gardens now. We have one inside with grow lights that we can grow year round, and we have 2 outside. It actually is full of water and a mineral tonic, and it has a pump and a timer. So it waters itself. The water comes up through the center and then drips down over the roots that are growing down into the center of the tower. There's no soil, there's no weeding. It actually yields 30% more in research than a conventional garden. And the nutrition is fabulous. You can actually harvest lettuce from seedling to actual harvest in 3 to 4 weeks. It really is super efficient growing method. It only uses 10% of the water and 10% of the land of a conventional garden. So that has become my answer to our family preparing and having our own food that we can control to go cut and make salads or cut kale off to put in smoothies. The good nutrition and prevention really does begin with fruits and vegetables. That is the most important thing that I can share with you tonight. After all the tips I've shared, you may still be sitting there thinking, that's all great, but in the reality of my life, I don't know how I'm going to spend the money or the time or pick the battles to actually accomplish that in my household. And I have one more resource that is my favorite thing to share, because it was my answer 17 years ago to an incredibly busy lifestyle, working 70 hours a week, not getting home till 10 or 11 at night, and thinking and trying that I was eating well. It's called Juice Plus. This has been an answer to my foundation for health and nutrition in my family, as I mentioned, for 17 years, and it absolutely changed my life. It's not like a traditional vitamin supplement. And I'll be honest that a friend shared it with me 18 years ago, and I ignored her for a year, seeing her every month and being sick with chronic sinus infections, and she would lovingly keep sharing and encouraging me to take a look. But I looked at her and said, I don't take vitamins and pills. Well, my husband was with her one night, and she opened up to him about how it had affected and impacted in such a positive way her husband's immune system. And he thought, sign us up, because he had dealt with our first year of marriage, me being sick all the time. Juice Plus is literally the 30 fruits and vegetables that you see in this picture here, that they are juiced. They're picked at their peak nutrition level and then juiced, and the water, sugar, and salts removed. And you end up with a concentrated fruit and vegetable powder that is put into capsules, as you see in this picture, or there's also a gummy version. It is actually the largest selling whole food-based product in the world. When we lived in Florida, I didn't pay taxes on Juice Plus because there's no food tax in Florida. The label on the back says nutrition facts, like a food label, not supplement facts like a vitamin. It's completely non-GMO, it's dairy-free and kosher. It's third-party certified. It has an NSF certification that actually is safe for Olympic athletes, proving there is nothing harmful. There are no stimulants, there's no pesticides. But what I love about Juice Plus and why I share it in my workshops is that last bullet, the research on it. Whether you're on this line tonight because you're interested in learning more about Juice Plus or not, the research on Juice Plus actually proves the power of produce. That if you were eating all 30 of these foods every day, you'd get the same benefits that I'm going to share with you. There are now over 35 published medical studies on Juice Plus, the most researched nutritional product in the world. And you look at the universities listed here and you know that you are known by the company you keep. And it's an amazing elite group of institutions around the world that have researched Juice Plus. It's been proven in research to help with cardiovascular wellness, to reduce systemic inflammation, which we know is a leading cause of all disease now. It's actually been studied at MD Anderson on ovarian cancer survivors. It's proven to reduce the insulin resistance in overweight boys. And in those boys, the study was done at Nemours Children's Hospital in Jacksonville, Florida. They actually showed a reduction in the adiposity, that fat around the abdomen, just by adding the Juice Plus capsules. It's proven to support lung health even in smokers who have higher levels of oxidative stress. There are studies showing healthy skin, that it improves the skin density, the circulation, and gum health. Your dental health is so important. It's a direct link to your heart, and your gum health is super critical. And there are studies showing the benefit of Juice Plus: reduced pocket depth, less bleeding. Supports an immune system. That is what I experienced firsthand when I added Juice Plus to my diet, and I am so grateful. Having an autoimmune condition that I have, I did not want something that would stimulate my immune system. I wanted something that would balance it out. And that's what Juice Plus in this medical research has proven to do. It helps protect DNA. As a mom, that's probably my favorite bullet point on here. There are days I want to go to a mountaintop and shout out to the world that there is not a drug on the market that is proven to actually repair and protect your DNA. But Juice Plus in medical research is proven to do just that. It reduces oxidative stress, and not only in average people or in smokers, but there have been 3 studies done on athletes who are using and burning their body as an engine even more. They have higher levels of oxidative stress. So often athletes think, well, I work out all the time, I can eat whatever I want. Well, at the cellular level, they're causing more damage. I like to tell athletes that they really need to be eating from a trough of fruits and vegetables if possible. You need to match your nutritional intake with your physical activity. And so that's really off for a lot of people. The research on Juice Plus shows incredible improvements. The damage to the protein carbonyls in the muscle. It helps with recovery and immune functions and all kinds of awesome things. And finally, that we know it's absorbed by the body. You do not just have Juice Plus in your urine. It's actual food. So your body knows exactly what to do with it. Before we close up, I want to share a couple of my favorite studies that to me, again, hammer home the power of produce. This study was done at the University of Maryland, and it was showing the benefit of Juice Plus after a high-fat meal. So again, the benefit of consuming all these fruits and vegetables actually protecting your body after a high-fat meal. It was published in JACC, which is the most prominent cardiovascular journal. It's the Journal of the American College of Cardiology. In this study, the participants consumed 2 breakfast sandwiches and 2 hash browns. It was over 50 grams of fat, over 800 calories. They then tested the constriction in the brachial artery. And they know that after most high-fat meals, your arteries constrict about 50%. You have the same amount of blood needing to flow through. You see the light blue line in this bar graph that the arteries constricted between 40 and 50% in all the participants. There was a group taking a placebo, a group taking the Orchard and Garden, which are 20 of the fruits and vegetables, and then a group taking the Orchard, Garden, and Vineyard, which is all 30 of the fruits, vegetables, and berries. They went back 21 days after being on the capsules, had the same high-fat meal, and you see the green line in the bar graph showing over a 50% improvement. So that much less constriction of the arteries. The amazing thing was just after 1 more week of the added nutrition, on day 28, they went back, had the same high-fat meal, and there's less than 2% constriction. It absolutely floored the researchers. They didn't even take the capsules on day 28. The researchers were saying there isn't medicine that has a carryover protective nature like this had. It negated the effect of the high-fat meal altogether, and it actually showed repair to the endothelial lining of the arteries as well. That is super powerful. This study was done at MD Anderson. It was the one done on the ovarian cancer survivors. And ethically speaking, there was not a placebo because they did not want any group of women not consuming fruits and vegetables. So one group signed up to eat 10 servings of fruits and vegetables every day. It was a big task. The other group was eating 5 servings a day, plus taking the Juice Plus capsules and having the Juice Plus Complete, which is a shake mix. Ovarian cancer has some of the highest levels of recurrence, over 70%. In this study, both groups were less than 30% recurrence. The Juice Plus group was closer to 20. And they also showed that the soy in the Juice Plus Complete, the protein in it, it's a plant-based protein, contributed to better protein status markers, and they also showed stronger immune function. I love this study because it really does show how Juice Plus is going to help bridge the gap in someone's diet. Now, for those who heard me mention the shake mix, I do want to share this is one of my family's favorite resources. It's an amazing balanced blend of plant protein. It's 13 grams of protein and uniquely 8 grams of fiber in every scoop. It is absolutely delicious. I literally do eat the powder plain. I will mix it up like a pudding with just a little bit of almond milk, and you think you're eating brownie batter. It's to die for. It's only $2 a serving. We use the vanilla in our morning smoothies. We'll do chocolate peanut butter smoothies later in the day, or I'll just shake up the chocolate complete later in the day for just a shake. I really do have 2 of these most days for breakfast and then either lunch or another snack. I just can't find something this healthy on the go. It's 15 different plants. There's alfalfa sprouts and radish sprouts and broccoli sprouts and things that my family is not going to normally eat on a daily basis. We also have the Juice Plus Children's Health Study. This is a program where kids eat free. So with an adult on Juice Plus, the children can get it free of charge for up to 4 years. It's for kids ages 4 through undergraduate college students. So it's really showing, less missed school days, work for parents. They're also showing that the kids are eating more fruits and vegetables. It's what Dr. Sears calls metabolic programming. They're drinking more water. They have fewer doctor's visits, taking less medications. And all the families, there are over 250,000 families enrolled in over 10 different countries, and they're showing positive health markers of some kind. And if all the medical research doesn't speak to you, but Oprah does, this goes back to the O Magazine article where she, consumerlabs.com, pulled the products off the shelves. And Juice Plus was actually one of the few that passed for being exactly what it says it is on the label, which is that picture I showed you earlier with all of the different fruits, vegetables, and berries. That is what is in Juice Plus. So the doctor of the future, as Thomas Edison said years ago, will give no medicine, but will interest his patients in the care of the human frame, in diet, and in the cause and prevention of disease. And Hippocrates said just a couple years before that, let food be thy medicine, and medicine be thy food. He was not talking about Dunkin' Donuts or chicken nuggets, but actual real food. If everything you heard tonight is brand new, I want to remind you that this is my 17-year journey doing this. So you want to start by just taking baby steps. It's one simple change at a time. For me, the first and easiest one simple change was adding Juice Plus as a foundation for our nutrition. And then gradually, over the years, we've made improvements in reducing the packaged foods or choosing healthier ones, eating more whole foods, drinking more water, sleep issues and stressing less, and getting more exercise. And with gradual improvements in all those areas, it's a compounding effect that has had an amazing outcome for my health. If you're wondering how you can get started on Juice Plus, I want to quickly share with you. Part of our Healthy Living Revolution is helping more families have this foundation for their nutrition. So there's 3 different ways you can get started. There's the basic package, which is the Orchard, Garden, and Vineyard, either capsules or gummies. and that's around $75 a month, usually after tax, if you're in a state that does tax food. The standard package is the capsules or gummies and the shakes. And I'll say again, with the capsules or gummies, it's like $2.50 a day for all 30 fruits, vegetables, and berries. And if you do have a child to then put in the study, they're getting it free. And with the shakes, they're $2 a shake, and they ship in 60 servings. I like to buy my 60 servings up front rather than do the monthly. We go through it like water in my house, and then I just order more when I need it. The capsules and gummies are shipped in a 4-month supply, and they really do last you 4 months. Or the premium package also includes the complete bars, which is just another offering for on-the-go nutrition. I encourage you to track your progress, to ask yourself each day what you've accomplished that fed your body in a healthy way. I'm a really big believer in positive thinking. You want to congratulate yourself for each good decision you made to be healthy and strong, and not focus on the handful of M&Ms that you maybe had as you walked by someone's desk at work. But every bit of energy you put towards the good choices you're making, you're going to continue to make more positive, good choices. Our mission is to inspire healthy living around the world, and that starts with one person at a time, one family and household at a time. I thank you so much for taking the time tonight to be with me. And at this point, I will open it up to any questions if anyone has any questions. Again, if you're new to Zoom, you can actually scroll your cursor across the top or the bottom, and you can type in the Q&A feature, and I can then address any questions. I know there's someone on here that put in the chat that they could not hear. So I am very sorry about that. I hope everyone could hear this evening. While I start to go check out the questions, I am going to go ahead and say goodbye to those who are catching us on a recording. I'm so glad that you joined us, and feel free to share this with any of your loved ones or catch us again on a future live workshop.